Ah, there we go. All right, so I realized I was answering some questions, but I was just kind of talking to Eric there. I know you guys were asking some stuff here, so I figured I'd jump on. We're talking about some course history and that question about Martin Pillar. I was saying is when I was sorting the guide in our model by price, he was the top guy under 6,500. So it doesn't mean I'm going to have any of them, but he did show up a decent amount for us. 2 of 4 cuts recently. I mean, the big thing that's putting Pillar up there for us is he's ranked 11th in key stats, which I think is pretty interesting. He's only kind of middle of the pack for recent form, middle of the pack for course history, and at 6,500, I don't hate him. It's hard to hate anyone at those prices because if you get someone that you can get the cut and get a decent finish, there's value there. I don't see him coming out and winning this week. So that's what you want me to try and tell you. I don't think it's there. So honestly, and I'll mention this later, at that price, another guy that I haven't liked at all, but I do now is Angel Cabrera, which, if you said that about a month or two ago, you'd have some crazy looks. But, he's put together a decent few events. He's got a good course history here. He's gearing up for that repeat at Oakmont. So that's just one guy I'm looking at that price range. Zoltaris, is that the guy he hasn't played at all, right? Yeah, I mean, 5,400. There's 1 or 2 guys I like in the upper fives. I don't mind Eric Compton this week. Let me just get the exact numbers on him. Yeah, Eric Compton at 5,900. He's 3 of 4 cuts here, 5 of 7 recently. He's definitely not a guy that I have a problem with you playing. I mean, if you saw my tweet earlier about stars and scrubs, he's a guy I've kind of looked at. He's in the middle top of our third class. His last few starts, he missed the cut of the players, but that's a strong field. If you look at how he's played in the weaker fields, like the Puerto Rico, the Zurich, he finished 31st, 39th. I mean, he's made 5 or 7 cuts, right? It's the tougher field, the tougher courses. He struggled. This is not that scenario, barring a crazy win like last year. So I mean, I think in the fives, he's a guy I don't mind. JJ Henry's another guy. I might think about. He finished 28th last week. He's been improving every single week since the Heritage. He's 4 or 6 cuts. He's got a decent, really strong course history for a guy 5,800. So those are 2 guys that in the fives that I don't mind anyone taking. I'm definitely rooting for LeBron. I just want to see this guy. I like seeing big guys like that. Get the job done. So I know we're waiting on Jeff and Bobby to jump on, so I can kind of just hang out here and take some questions or talk about whatever you guys want. So yeah, Team LeBron, exactly. Yeah, I mean, listen, Leishman, I think he had one really bad day. I think he kind of had a strong day, made the cut, and then I think it was a pretty poor Saturday or one of the days. So, the price is a little high on him this week. There's one. I mean, the optimal lineup that we're using basically has a bunch of guys from like the upper 7s to low 8s with DJ in it, based on our FG metric score. And as for Leishman, he's the last guy in our second class. He's one of about 12 guys that are in the top 40 of recent form key stats course history. I mean, he's a strong play in a weak field. He's still ranked 38th in the world. I think the price is a little high. I mean, he's only averaging 10.3 points less than someone priced at that point. So that's a little bit of a concern that the value is there. But again, you're going to get the ownership on that guy because a lot of at 9,500, I don't think anyone's going to be taking him. So it's a much weaker field. Yeah, I definitely think Spieth's ownership is going to be high. I mean, Spieth's one of those guys. Bobby and I did a study earlier. The only time Spieth's ownership is relatively low is when Rory McIlroy is in the field. That's what we noticed. Other than that, he's 25, 30%, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's there. He hasn't had many strong finishes other than the Masters, but he's 5 of 5 at this course, including, I believe, when he was an amateur. So I think people are going to see that and still be on him. I just think most of the pros will jump off of him onto like DJ, but I think Spieth's going to be a guy that's still probably owned a decent amount. Oh, look at that. Back to back. Again, Bobby and Jeff on here. How we doing, guys?
What's going on,
Hey, man.
fellas?
Sorry for leaving you hanging.
No worries, I got this. Schwartzel, Eric just mentioned. I love Schwartzel. I loved him for the Masters. He burned me there, but other than that, which was I think mostly weather and draw related for him, he's actually posted as good a year as he's had in a while since he's been injured. So Schwartzel's a guy that I definitely like a lot. He's a guy that I put some good money on for the U.S. Open just because at 75-1, I think he's way too good a player to be priced at that. So I've always been a Schwartzel fan.
Yeah, I'm not a not Schwartzel fan this week. I think I just like Louis a little bit better, but maybe that's
Yeah, no, I can see that.
But yeah, I mean, I think both of them make a lot of sense this week. I mean, for me, they're priced under Zach Johnson, Matt Kuchar, and Charlie Hoffman. To me, getting a discount. I mean, I had both those guys probably should be, like, in my mind, the third or fourth favorites this week. So
Yeah.
and when they're priced that cheaply, I don't think either is going to be super highly owned. So yeah, for DFS purposes, I think a lot of people go with Kuchar or go with like Brooks or cheaper guys. So I like both those guys this week for sure. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'm on board the Schwartzel train as well. Like you said, Steve, I think he's was having a great year leading up to the Masters, and for like GPP purposes, I like the fact that his last US event was a miscut, and that he's kind of been MIA for the last few weeks. So hopefully that kind of just pushes some people off their radar a bit to lower his ownership at, like Jeff just said, at a pretty discounted price based on my perception of what his odds are should be in placing the top 5, top 10, or winning this thing.
One last thing about Louis too. He was second in strokes gained tee to green last week, but he was like 70th strokes gained putting. So if the greens are a little bit better this week, or a little bit easier, I should say, then that could favor him big time. He was actually leading this event after the third round in 2014 too. So he played the course well before. But so is Schwartzel. So they're both guys that I'd look to in GPPs for sure.
No. Yeah, that's it. And then they're still kind of talking about Spieth in the chat a little bit. I mean, I think Spieth's still going to be owned, but he's like Bobby and I were talking earlier. He's just a little too risky at that price to kind of take right now. I mean, the numbers just make more sense for a guy like DJ. I mean, listen, it's a weak field, and I could easily see Spieth just coming out and beating it, but it's just too much risk there, I think.
Yeah, I still haven't decided where I land on Spieth yet. I'm gonna have some exposure, but and the main reason I'm gonna have exposure in GPPs is it's just game theory. Everyone I've seen likes Dustin Johnson this week, and that's fair. I mean, he's got the course history. The course probably sets up better for him, but if Dustin Johnson's going to be 30% owned and Spieth's going to be like half that, I'll take Spieth all day over Dustin Johnson, especially coming off the miscut and stuff. I don't know. I think it's just a game theory thing.
I just think he's going to be owned. He's going to be owned, at least like 20 to 25%, if not higher. I mean, it's just one thing Bobby and I noticed is that if Spieth is in the field and Rory isn't, the ownership's there. The only time we've seen him decrease a significant amount is if Rory is also in the field.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Like, I mean, obviously I can't predict ownership, so I wish I could. If I knew Spieth was going to be 10%, I'd probably just shove all in on him. But I don't know. Like, people might be burned off him. But you're right. I mean, it's the Byron Nelson, and it's like his first tournament that he played and stuff, and people might just get back on him for that narrative. So I agree. I mean, I think Dustin Johnson's a safer play by far this week. It's all about ownership percentages if I was going to play Spieth or not in tournaments.
Yeah, and I, Steve, as I said to you as I was trying to scramble home from work, I sum up Spieth this week in kind of two sentences. One, I really don't like him at all. But two, he might be the best GPP play of the year this year. So it's one of those.
Yeah, 100%.
It's one of those double-edged swords where I think Jeff has it nailed it right. You want to build a couple teams with some exposure, because if he pops and you get a guy of his pedigree with his potential at less than 10% ownership, I mean, that's the biggest discount you could ask for in the GPP event like that. So
I would definitely say, yeah. I mean, in GPP, I would agree a lot more. I guess I was just I'm always a little more of a cash game focus. Yeah, 100%.
Cash,
yeah.
I would avoid him altogether. I'm with you there.
Yeah. What do you guys think of Sergio this week? Is he viable for like a punt in a GPP, or are you just gonna ignore him?
I didn't really, I didn't think about much, and then I kind of, like I said, like last week, when I run the model, it just comes out with whatever it comes out with, and it gives me some interesting perspectives. And yeah, I mean, he's the third ranked guy in the model. I mean, he's third in our form, eighth in our key stats, fourth in our course history. The numbers seem to just make a ton of sense, actually, which I wouldn't have thought that or known that kind of off the top of my head, but I mean, I'd be surprised if the ownership doesn't warrant some value there at that price.
Yeah, totally. I agree. It's funny. He 8-putted last week, but he actually didn't putt that bad last week, which he actually putted better than he has been all year, just from the field perspective. So he actually wasn't that good tee to green. If he gets the tee to green together on this course, I really like him as a GPP play. I'm gonna definitely have a little bit of Sergio exposure, but I might also be fading Dustin Johnson this week just from a ownership perspective. So if I was gonna do that, I think Sergio would be the guy I'd get on. I see him.
Yeah. In terms of Sergio, he's another kind of Spieth conundrum for me, where there's some things I like and some things I don't like about him. What I love about him is that he led the field in birdies last week with 23. I think he had a quad, a triple, and 3 doubles. And I read a stat today in one of the articles I was reading. I think of the 76 players that made the cut, every one of those 75 of those 76 players had more pars than him on the week. So obviously, he was scoring at times, and I like the fact that he did post those really good scoring numbers. Yet his finishing position wasn't that enticing. However, what scares me a bit is obviously his strokes gained putting was kind of against his norms, and it's a battle of what? Do you think that his tee to green kind of trends up to where it normally is, and if the strokes gained putting stays that way, then you're aligning yourself to pretty much hit lightning in a bottle with him this week. But if his strokes gained putting reverts to the mean, which I heavily believe in, especially in kind of forecast and projection, then I'm worried that all those birdies were mostly attributed to the fact that his putter was out of the norm. And what happens if his putter reverts back and his tee to green stays at the level that it was? So I don't know. Sergio's a tough play this week, but I do agree that I think he does make an interesting GPP play, and I will probably have some Spaniard exposure this week too.
This is a weird course too. It's helped out some bad putters before in the past too. So that's something to think about. It's always a little bit unpredictable, but the greens are definitely going to be a lot different than last week. So I know it's helped out Keegan Bradley a lot here, Jason Duffner, guys like that, guys kind of in that Sergio realm who can be really good tee to green, but usually suck putting. So.
Definitely. I mean, just look at the past champions. Like you said, I think it was Duffner, Bradley, Sabatini, just guys that haven't been associated with strong putters for the most part. So, yeah, I'm definitely not placing as much a premium on putting this week. But, yeah, I mean, his game does normally fit. I'm just worried that most of his good scoring last week was mostly attributed to a putter, which is not normally how he gets the job done. But, again,
absolutely,
we'll see.
So who else should we move down here in price range? Who else really pops up for you guys in the 8K range? Is there cash game plays really?
I mean, Mulder is really popping strong over the last couple of weeks, and I mean he's 7 straight cuts, 7 of his last 8. In those 7 cuts, he's 27th in average finish. He's 4 or 6 cuts here. At 7,600, I think I think he's a guy you want to keep riding until he shows you he's not there.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't agree with you more, Steve. I like Mulder a lot too.
Makes a ton of sense. He's kind of underrated. He was a really good junior player too. So, there's some talent there. He's not just some scrub who's on a hot streak. He's a guy who's got some game. So I definitely agree on that. Lucas Glover, the guys have kind of brought him up a couple times. I love Lucas Glover. He's one of the best players on tour. His putting to me looked really good. Not really good. It looked really good comparative to what it usually is at Wells Fargo. So I think that's encouraging. I don't know. I mean, maybe he's getting too popular, but I kind of put him in the same sort of realm as Bryce Mulder as a safer play. I mean, until he shows you he's going to blow up or his putting just is so bad or or something, you have to keep playing him. I mean, he's made 5 straight cuts.
Yeah.
This course should suit him from the perspective of it's helped other bad putters before. So, yeah, I maybe Glover's a guy I think I'd almost get on more for cash games this week than tournaments, I think.
Yeah, and just go back, I'm with you there. And what's interesting about, I was looking at his round by round data, and in the 3 events leading up to the Wells Fargo, he posted strokes game, an aggregate strokes game putting pretty much in the negative 3.3 to negative 3.78 range. Yeah. And then he's still at the Wells Fargo. He's still not gaining strokes against the field, but he posted a much better negative 1.398. So yeah. If he's feeling better than he normally does with the putter and can post a number like that, and like you said, the greens here can be beat by those lesser talented putters. Then aside from like obvious ownership possibilities based on the popularity that is growing, I think he makes for a pretty strong play too.
Yeah, it was weird. I don't know if he actually changed grips or not, or if he's changed in the air. He just looked a lot more solid over the ball for me. So that's just like an eye test thing, but mainly. But yeah, I mean, I think in the 8K range, like for cash game plays, I mean Ryan Palmer obviously sticks out, or probably will. I think he'll be really popular this week. Danny Lee's a guy who I could see having a good week too. I like him more for GPPs than Palmer. I think I might swerve to him. And then there's like I feel like Gary Woodland, Charles Howell will both be popular. I'm not gonna have a ton of either guy, but I think there's a lot of solid plays in that range. Like I think a lot of these guys are gonna be popular in the 8K range.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Steve.
Go ahead, Bobby.
No, I think for like my probably favorite like cash game safe play in that range, I think you nailed it with Ryan Palmer. I mean, I think he's like 12 of 13 on the year, some sort, and obviously his last 5 years at this tournament, I think he's posted all scores better than T33, and he's been in the top 10 3 times. So, I mean, like course history, course form is meeting current form in terms of like making cuts. So I think Palmer makes for an obvious cash play. I like Danny Lee a lot too for GPP purposes as well. And again, I'm banking on the fact that he hasn't really been lights out, but he's starting to make cuts, and he's the type of guy that any given week he could just creep up that leaderboard. And I think his ownership levels have been deflated to where I think they normally are or should be. So I think you can have a good chance to catch Danny Lee to hit like a top 5, top 10 before his ownership levels kind of rise to the level that people would normally expect to come with him. And like you said, Gary Woodland, he's probably been the most consistent he's been playing in his entire career. It's kind of hard to really classify him as a cash game player just based on like how his career's played out. But besides maybe Palmer in this range, I don't see a more consistent player on the board over the last month or so. So Woodland is definitely a play from a cash game perspective as well too. Probably GPP. So
yeah, I think those 3 guys that you just mentioned are the only guys really in the 8s that I'm looking at. I mean, Jimmy Walker has obviously a solid course history here, but he just hasn't been the Jimmy Walker that he was most of the last year even. So I think there's a little bit of concern there. In that price range, there's only so many guys, and you start at Ryan Palmer, you go down to Piercy in the 8s. CH3, one of the guys we're asking a question about, he's kind of fading in form. I'm not ready to really jump back on him, even though we pretty much rode him to death all early season. But for now, I mean, he obviously had the win, but other than that, I'm not too excited. Piercy doesn't bother me. I mean, it's a little more than just, a little less than mid 8s, but 4 or 5 cuts. We have him ranked 8th in recent form. He's got a real strong course history. I think Piercy at 8,000 is not a terrible GPP play. I don't know that I trust him for cash because he's the kind of guy that can kind of shoot 5 over any day, but he's also the guy that can be the first round leader winner. So.
What's interesting about that statement too is, so like it's been quietly done. He's actually 12 of 13 for cuts over for his form leading into the event. So I think that's one of the more enticing things about Piercy is just like how quietly he's amassed a pretty solid season, and outside of really, I guess his Masters performance, really hasn't been too much buzz about him in the industry until I've definitely seen some more touts and more buzz this week. So I'm hoping that his ownership levels don't elevate.
What was that cut he missed?
We were definitely on him. I know that.
I know. That's why I want to say, because I know the most ownership I've had to Piercy all year was the one he missed the cut.
Oh,
That's why
the
I asked him.
Honda Classic.
Yes, I had all the Piercy. We had all the Piercy that week.
I think that was our narrative where, you get a guy that low price, a top 50 player in the world. How could you not take value like that?
That's how we went about it. Yeah, he was like 60-something hundred, I think.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I know. I'm on you with Piercy. I think this range is going to be popular anyways. So, but I definitely see Woodland and Palmer as being the really popular guys. I think Piercy will still be good. So, I'm with you on all those players. I like Lee and Piercy more as GPP picks, and Palmer and Woodland probably sticking out more as cash game plays for sure. That's kind of what I'm leaning.
What are your guys' thoughts? I mean, right below this range on Mr. 63 last week, Colt Knost at 7,800. Who would have thought we'd see the day that Colt Knost is approaching $8,000?
I know.
Yeah, and that just makes me want to get off him. I mean, he could pop again, but I mean, really, this is his first top 10 on the year, right? Yeah, so from a cash game perspective, I guess you could just keep rolling with him. I'd much rather get on a guy like Jonas Blixt or maybe even take a look at like Keegan Bradley or Graham Dillette, but I just think those other guys have a better chance of popping this week. I kind of like Blixt here, but those for me, it's fine. It's like you said, he's approaching 8K now. He just doesn't top 10 enough for me for tournaments, so I probably wouldn't get on him in GPPs. And he'll be popular after last week, right?
No, I'm with you, and that's what scares me the most often in GPPs. Like, you could play the narrative like, oh, you got this guy who's normally a scrub value that's priced almost 8,000, so that might push people up. But if people he's coming off I think he tied the course record in Sawgrass. He had a top 5 finish. He's 15 of 16 cuts on the year, and I think I'm not off the top of my head, I'm not exactly sure what his course is, but I think it's okay. So I think people are going to look at the stats and still be on him, and at that price, I'd rather go down or go up a couple $200 and find a guy that I really feel a lot more confident that could post that top 10, top 5. I just think that his ceiling is really capped, and I mean, without a 63 last week, he's not sniffing a top 10 either. I know that's kind of playing here nor there, but still, I think the ceiling is lower than I would expect for a player 7,800, and I do agree and I think the ownership percentage ceiling is pretty high, so I'm probably avoiding. Again, but not a terrible cash game play, but still, that's pretty expensive for Mr. Knost or no.
At the same time, that comment, it makes sense. It's the same thing I said about J.B. Holmes at Doral last year. I mean, he shot, a 60, 61, 62, and then he was 1 over the last 3 days. So you're looking at his numbers. He finished second last year, but you realize he just had one kind of standout round where he made a hole in one, and then the rest of the week, he didn't do much. So when you look at those outliers as one round, I think there is value in saying, hey, you know what? Take a little bit of pause, make sure you really like what you're seeing, because all these guys have the ability to shoot, a crazy round. It's just, can you keep doing it? So I think it's a good point,
Steve. And to attest to that, and that's why we like looking at the round by round stuff. And it's better to look at the overall, even hole by hole, to really test a player's true course history. Or if you look at Nost's or Nost tee to green performance from the last 4 rounds at the players, his numbers were .115 strokes gained tee to green, 4.899 strokes gained tee to green in round 2, and then .078 and .581. So round 2, he had nearly 5 more strokes gained against the field than he averaged the rest of the event, which was right around 0. So I think that speaks more volumes to the form that the guy's kind of heading into in terms of his ceiling, rather than just looking at his overall finish. And yeah, so I agree with what you're saying there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's see. Going down here. Anyone else sticking out?
What are your guys' thoughts on a guy? I mentioned him right before you guys jumped on. And I can't believe I'm saying it, because if you would have said his name maybe 8 weeks ago, it would have been blasphemous. Any thoughts on Angel Cabrera this week?
This is the style of course I would want to use Angel Cabrera on, because it's got longer par 4s. It requires more of a tee to green game than tricky greens or something like we saw last week. So I used to always consider him just as a GPP pick, because he always has the chance to blow some just put up some big rounds and get like a top 15.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, he's put up 3 made cuts now, which is really kind of interesting because he used to be the kind of guy who just missed so many cuts. If he ever gets it together on the weekend, he's gonna finish like T5 or something. I mean, he is. He just can't. It's like he hits Saturday and he decides he's gonna shoot like 76. So I think the course suits him for sure. I mean, it's a longer style. Like, he seems to favor these guys with length off the tee and good long approach games. I mean, that's what you want for Angel Cabrera. But yeah, I mean, it's like I said, I think he is going to pop eventually. I mean, he's getting up there in age, but he's still got it. I mean, I think he's still got the talent.
Yeah, I mean, he's 5 of 6 cuts in the range that we're looking. I mean, he's 2 of 2 on this track. Our little metric that we put together, it's a trend metric. It basically says is he on the way up in all of his stats. I mean,
yeah,
he's ranked 14th in the field. So, I think he's a guy who, early in the season you looked at, he was like 2 of 8 cuts early in the fall and early season. You could never touch him, but he's quietly made 5 of 6, and I think he's not a bad spot at 6,500.
He's so easy. Like, people forget about him. I mean, he's so talented. Like, I know the guy's like I don't even know how old he is now, man. He's like
46, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, 47. So, but I mean, like, the guy still hits it over 300 yards. Like, it's nuts. I mean, I'm gonna check his driving distance quickly. Just I want to see. Yeah, he's hitting at 295, so he's 44th in driving distance. I mean, that's nuts for a 47-year-old. So. I like him. The other guy I liked in that range is actually really similar. It was Robert Garrigus. Again, a guy who hits it big. He's got sweet proximity stats from like 125 in to 200. I think he's like first on tour from like 175 to 200 or something like that. Around that range anyways. He's got a good course history.
Yeah, decent course history.
Yeah, he putted a bit better at the Wells Fargo because putting is usually, he's just horrible. So, again, just someone who seems to be trending in that direction. Very similar to Angel Cabrera. Like, I could see either of these guys just popping up with like a T9 or a T5 here because they're both capable of it. So, I like both of them. I'm going to have more Garrigus this week just because I like the course history and I like what he did at Wells Fargo. But Cabrera, for me, it's like the same idea. He looks like he's going in the right direction. So. And
then if you want to take a step down, just a couple guys that I wrote down, just purely based on cut made percentage for both recent form and course history. They're both under 6,000, and you can comment either way because I don't really have much other than just cuts made. Is J.J. Henry at 5,800 and Eric Compton at 5,900. J.J. Henry is 6 of 8 on this course and 5 of 7 recent. Eric Compton's 5 of 7 recent and 3 of 4 on the course. I just, I'm not saying the stats or anything else are really popping off the page, but just in terms of getting a guy through the cut under 6,000, they've been doing it recently and on this course.
Yeah, I like, Compton's a guy I used to always try and get on like if I was making a lot of GPP teams because he does seem to pop with, like, he's had some top 5 finishes in his career, and he's just, obviously second at the US Open one year, so he's got that ability to have a big GPP league. I haven't looked at him this week at all. Like, I haven't really looked at him this year because he's kind of been struggling. But I get it. Like, he's that type of player who will just go and he'll go in a weaker event and pop up. So that makes sense. J.J. Henry I like more for sure. I think he's a little bit more consistent this year. Tee to green and stuff like that. So I like both those guys if you're going under 6K for sure for GPPs because there's not too many guys that I really like at all under 6K. Like, I know I kind of browsed down there and I was just like, I don't like any of these guys.
Yeah.
Rob Oppenheim is another one who's someone just mentioned in chat. He's actually been pretty consistent. So I think someone said he's got course history here too.
For Oppenheim, let me see. Oppenheim, no, he's got no course history.
Yeah, no course. Okay, never mind. Maybe I'm thinking of someone else. But
another question was Chaka. Maybe that's who you're talking about because
quite possibly, yeah.
His numbers are popping off. Someone just asked about him. I mean, he's 3 of 5 here, but they were strong finishes. He's in the top 30 of our recent form key stats and course history. He's one of only a few guys doing that. He's 4 or 5 cuts. He's averaging 62.1 points. I think the price is the best thing. Our P gap, he's averaging 14.64 points more than someone priced at 6,800. So I think there's a lot of value in Chaka at 6,800 price-wise.
Yeah, that's an interesting range. Jake is a guy. I can just never pull myself to use him because
No, I agree.
he's so random, like when he pops up. But it makes sense. I mean, he definitely played well last week. I was surprised, but actually I wasn't surprised because he has played well at that course before. But yeah, I find it really tough under 7K this week. There's not a whole lot of guys I trust, so going with Chayka makes sense. I mean, I think Jerry Kelly's going to be popular just because there's so few options under there. So Chayka might soak up a little ownership too, just because he did last week.
And just so you know, since we're kind of doing that low end price, I have no problem telling you guys right now. I put together a lineup for the toughest $5 in golf, right? And okay. I'll just put it out there, and so I got DJ on it, DJ, Kuchar, Duffner on the top end, and then on the bottom end I got the guys I just mentioned, Henry, Compton, and Cabrera, and that brings me pretty much to a rounded lineup there. So if those three lower end guys can get the job done, I mean, I feel pretty strong. Obviously, I think DJ is going to be, if not maybe 50% owned in that contest, but it's technically a cash game, but at the same time you want to win it, so you got to think of it as like a 50-person GPP. But that's I feel like that's more of a GPP lineup with stars and scrubs overall, but the DJ ownership could be the issue.
I'd say whenever you're using Eric Compton in a lineup, it's definitely GPP.
I mean, I'll even throw when you're using Cabrera in a lineup outside the Masters. I'm saying it's GPP as well too.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really get a chance to really dive deep into the lower end guys, and while you guys were having that discussion, I was looking, and it is slim pickings down there. The only that I kind of would like, the only guys I would could make a story for and a narrative that I could possibly get behind would be kind of like a course history type of narrative with a guy like Asswagon, where I think he's got 6 rounds here and he's got 4 rounds in the 60s, but I think he's coming off like 3 straight missed cuts. And Pampling, I think you guys mentioned. I know he's a Dallas resident, and take that for what it's worth. But I know he's got 3 top 25s at this track along with 3 missed cuts. So, I mean, that's why they're priced down at that level. And no one in that level is generally really sticking out to me as kind of like a great value play for me this week. So probably not that much exposure down there.
I mean, there's like Mark Hubbard's down there too. That he's made 17 of 20 cuts on.
I know.
Which is crazy. Like it's actually that's sick. But so that's the other guy at 6,100. Like I might throw him in a GPP just because I still don't think he'll be like over 15% owned or anything like that. And if you just need a mid cut, I was kind of looking at Luke Guthrie this week too. I don't hate him. He played okay on the Web.com tour last week, and he's played here a couple times. He's got actually a few rounds in the 60s, so I think he's got like 3 or 4 rounds in the 60s, which is nice. He doesn't have any top finishes. I think he blew up one Sunday, but another guy who hits his long irons well. He's got good approach proximity from that distance, and he's played on tour a lot. Like he's got some top 20s, so I think if I was going with like a GPP pick in the 6K range, that's someone to think about. Henrik Norlander's not bad to think about either.
I was just looking at him too. Yeah.
Yeah, same kind of deal. He seems to hit his approaches pretty well. Another guy from just strict course history is John Merrick. Kind of like you were just mentioning with who was the last player you just mentioned?
Pampling.
Pampling. Yeah, he's kind of similar to that. He's got a lot of sort of top 20s here. And I mean, Merrick's not a bad player. He's kind of splitting time between like the Web and the PGA right now, but he's gotten it done on the PGA before, so it's not a horrible idea in this field at 6K. Some of these guys are probably going to top 20 this week, and it's just a matter of picking out which ones. The last guy I'll just mention is Bud Cauley. He's coming back from injury. He always just seems to pop up. He gets injured all the time, and then he pops up with like a top 20 here and there, and then he gets injured again. So I don't know. I mean, he still hits it pretty far, but I guess you could think about him. I probably wouldn't trust him this week, but I just thought I'd take note. He's actually in the field.
Yeah, and one guy that I was heavily invested into last week and ended up really hurting me was, and I'm probably going to jump back on him this week because I think he's going to be microscopically owned. And his tee to green data over the last like 12 weeks has been really, really strong. It's just kind of been a quiet putter that's been holding him back a little bit. And he was starting to pop until, obviously, his missed cut or his withdrawal last week. But Chris Stroud at 6,400. I think I'm going to jump back on that train because he posted his first round. I think he lost like 5 strokes to the field on the greens, but he still posted a positive tee to green day. He doesn't really have that much course history here, but I think this is the type of tournament where, based on just looking at his tee to green date over the last 12 weeks, I think that he could sneakily crack a top 25, top 20 at that range. And again, I think a lot more people will be, not that a lot of people are on him, but even less people will be on him after the miscut at the Players. Or the withdrawal.
Yeah.
Yeah. The withdrawal. He's one of the smart people who just didn't come back. But yeah.
him and Kirk, I was heavily exposed to, and both players got me 1 round of golf. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I'm on that too. I mean, it's just such a weak field down there that, I mean, Stroud, at least when he makes the cut, he's gotten a lot of top 20s and stuff like that. So that makes sense for sure.
And lastly, the only guy I want to mention, I know he's fallen off the map pretty hard over the last 3 weeks, and some people have been on him. But if we're talking purely like guys that could get the ball from tee to green effectively and probably top 25% in tour, it's hard to ignore like Greg Owen at a course like this. It's his putter that's been absolutely crushing him. If you looked at his tee to green data, and you would think that he was actually making cuts and finishing well, but he hasn't. And I think he's missed his last 3 cuts. Couple close to the cut line, others in like the 90s. But again, if you're looking at a kind of a course fit type of play where putting is not at a premium, I think Owen might surprise a few people this week. I'm not saying he's heavily exposed, but he's a guy that I would not be surprised if he cracked the top 25 based on just how he gets from tee to green.
Yeah, we're riding that Greg Owen train. We just can't seem to get off it, unfortunately. So
riding into the ditch, yeah. Oh man. You guys gonna have any Yappy Barn Rat exposure? I feel like his price is. I mean, he's the 44th player in the world. He's only 7,100. I mean,
I love that narrative. Probably just because of that alone. To be honest with you.
Yeah,
it's the Leishman narrative. It's the Anir Ben Lahiri narrative that you could use sometimes. The Piercy narrative that burnt us. Yeah, but I definitely love that narrative, and would absolutely at that price have some.
I mean, we got him ranked 17th in form, 16th in key stats, no course history, but when your guy is ranked this high in the world, that doesn't matter as much. Points gained against price, we have him ranked 10th in the field. He's averaging 9.6 points more than someone priced at 7,100. The value is tremendous on him, especially with the way he's been putting the ball.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, he's not just hitting it. He's not just like hitting it far off the tee, which he does, but he's putting really well. So it's interesting. I mean, that's pretty much how Bowditch won this tournament last year. And he just smashed it off the tee and he putted insanely well. So I don't know. I mean, in theory he could just do the same thing. So
I mean, he's first in the field over the last 12 weeks in strokes gained putting. I mean, he's 3rd on tour over the last 12 events, first in this field. The only problem is he's 261st on tour over the last 12 events in strokes gained tee to green. So he's making birdies, but he's not really doing it in a pretty way. So
he's basically Asian Stephen Bowditch.
Yeah, I mean he's ranked 135th in the field in strokes gained tee to green over the last 12 events, but he's ranked 1st in strokes gained putting. So if he can just hit it a little better, just put it out there and get it onto the green.
I mean, that's pretty much how Bowditch won his events. He just had like one good week of driving the ball and just putted and scrambled amazing. So interesting. I don't know. Yeah, he's someone I'm gonna have exposure to just because of what he's been doing, like with the putter and stuff like that. And he's played well in tour, so maybe his run is out here. I mean, I didn't really expect him to do much last week. It was a tough course, but we'll see. I'm definitely gonna have some GPP exposure. I'm gonna have some exposure to Sean O'Hare again, just because I always have exposure to Sean O'Hare. But is there anyone else you guys are kind of probably gonna play but we haven't talked about yet?
You talk about Leishman yet?
His price is huge, so I mean, like ownership-wise, I don't think he'll be crazy. I mean, I know,
and I haven't really dug deep into the key stats like Steve has yet, But I'm guessing par 4 scoring is probably a relevant statistic this week, and it's one of the better ones that I like on tour in that statistic. And again, like I said, I think his ownership, his price is high enough to push some people off of ownership. And again, he's a guy that could win this, so I'm going to always have some of the feasting on the leash burger.
I mean, no, I was
Uh-huh.
going to say they really wanted to comment on Loop because they were talking about that a little bit. I'm not too excited about him. I mean, he hasn't been making cuts. He's kind of average recent form. Not great course history. I mean, he's only played here twice. He missed the cut once, made it once. I mean, the key stats are pretty good, but at 6,600, I mean, you know, there are other guys at that price point that I can get on him before I get on Loop. Just to touch on him for the guys in the chat.
I want no Andrew Loop at this point.
Yeah, especially because I think his ownership should be higher than it should be for a guy
It's
like
gonna
that.
be way too high. He's probably going to hit it in the water about 5 times or so, at some point. You know, maybe he makes the cut, but he might go like 66, like 76, and make the cut, or you know, have a decent couple rounds and then shoot 76 on the weekend. I don't want him on this course at all. I'm not interested. No, like I think the other guys we brought up in that range are better plays. I don't know. The guy's talented, but like he doesn't hit it straight enough. I think he'll get burned on this course. But that's my feeling on him.
I think Bobby and I are kind of agreed on our joint cash account. You know, we're gonna pretty much be a lot of Matt Kuchar, I would say.
That's not a bad play. I mean, I do like Sergio for tournaments, but like, I was thinking about it. I'm like, man, he's coming off a third. Like sometimes when he gets on these rolls, he just top 10.
He's just gotten in the groove. I mean, we were on him. We had 100% last week, and then the night before, everyone was like, "Oh, he's sick. He's this." So I reduced it a bunch. I kind of wish I hadn't, because I couldn't actually find any real confirmed reports on it being an issue.
I actually called that guy out on Twitter, and I'm like, this isn't a real source, but take it for what it is, people. And then he got back at me the next day, and he's like, "Oh, I was there. Kuchar said he wasn't well enough to play ping pong, so he didn't come down." I'm like, why didn't you just say that yesterday? Because basically what you're saying is all he just did was decline a ping pong match.
Yeah.
Like if you had said that yesterday, I don't think people would have reacted. But for some reason the guy waited a day. So I don't know. That guy's an idiot. But yeah, that sucks. But but yeah, like I was saying before I went off there. Makes a ton of sense. I mean, he's probably the safest play here for sure for me.
Yeah. What else? Trying to think who I didn't touch on. Wilkinson I want to get behind, but the course history is kind of like, it's too spotty for me. I mean, he's has some good finishes, but he's got a few missed cuts. Obviously, the price is still strong for how well he's been playing recently. He's actually 10th in recent form, 7th in key stats for us. So, I can get behind him on that alone, but it does concern me. For some reason, I'm really turned off by guys with extremely poor history. I mean, Bobby and I can get behind someone that has like average course history, or even no course history if they're like a premier player. But if you have like bad course history, I'm not interested unless it's like, maybe Ches Reavie earlier this year is one guy that like career-wise wasn't that great, and then he's having his best year. Guys like that maybe, but Wilkinson, he's playing well, but it's not like he's playing so well that he's a different player,
And I mean, he's 6,800 this week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I like Tim Wilkinson when he's like in the bottom 5% of the field for salary as a cut maker, but I'm not going to trust him to start putting up like top 20s every week. So I'm not interested. Like I get he's made like 4 straight cuts, but I don't know. I don't really like this field or this course for shorter hitters necessarily. I just feel like it puts a lot of pressure on their approach games, and like certain ones I can get behind, but I just don't think Wilkinson's one of them this week. So we'll see. I mean, maybe he keeps it going, but he's just gotten to that price for me where he's just too much.
And this is one of those moments where I'm going against the model because, I mean, he's in our second class. I mean, he's technically ranked 10th in the model, but I'm just still not excited about rostering him. I mean, the numbers are what they are, but I go back to that conversation I had last week, whereas I like the unbiased nature of kind of just submitting all the numbers and having them come back, but my personal opinion is it's just that's not where I'm going this week.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's kind of how I feel too. Like, yeah.
We talked about Koepka yet this week? I feel like a lot of people aren't really talking about Koepka and Snedeker. Two guys I want to get your thoughts on. Two guys I'd like to get your
Let's
thoughts on.
talk about that range a bit more because we were talking about Leishman for a sec. Like,
Yeah.
I'm probably going to be on Leishman because I think Koepka is going to be popular.
Mm-hmm.
Like he made the cut last week. Everyone loves Brooks. You know, probably got them some fantasy points and stuff. So everyone's back on the Brooks train, and it's kind of a longer hitters course. So I'm sure you'll see some people talking about him. I'll probably get more on Leishman and just hope that the price increase keeps him down. I don't think he's like a horrible play, but at the same time, I mean, I don't know. You know, 2 cuts, a 21st, a 35th, a 23rd. Like, I don't know. He's just seems a little off to me in his game. Just it's not that tidy. So with Oosthuizen only 300 more, I'm just going to pay up for those guys or just pay down personally. But and just hope that people use him too much and he sucks again.
I kind of like the idea of paying down to Duffner. You know,
Yeah.
he's been pretty decent recently. He's won on this course. He's got 2 other top 10s. I mean, since they went to just playing the one course, he's 5 of 5 cuts with an average finish of 19.6. I mean, at 9,100, I don't feel like anyone's really going to be on him. I think people are around him. I mean, again, we like Palmer at that range, but I think I like him more than Snedeker personally. I mean, Snedeker has a little less history here. He's got 1 good finish, 1 bad finish, but I definitely think Duffner is going to be less owned than Snedeker. I mean, I think you guys would probably agree with that.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, I don't think it'll be super.
It'll be close. It'll be close. It's not going to be like a night and day, but I just think you're going to get a better deal with Duffner.
I think he's a better play too than
Yeah.
than him and Koepka. Like I think Duffner's got a better chance of. I mean, he really actually didn't play that badly last week. He just kind of blew up. He was going pretty good for a bit. So, this course, this field, it'll probably lend itself more to his style of play, in my opinion, than straight bombers like Koepka, whose other parts of his game aren't going that well.
Mm-hmm.
Duffner's like a lot of the guys we mentioned. Tee to green, he's fucking awesome. He just like his putter lets him down some weeks, so that might not happen as much here. Snedeker for me, I always just wait till Snedeker gets hot because once he does, he'll just keep racking up like top 10s. And for me right now, he's just not in that form, so I'm just not going to play him. Like it seems like kind of narrative-ish or straightforward, but it really is with him. He's either on or he's not. He's just not on right now. So I'm going to wait till later in the summer probably.
Yeah, he's another one of those guys, like you're saying, just there's no reason to be ahead of the curve on him. I mean, you have to try and do that with Koepka, but then you're risking a lot by going that way. But with Snedeker, it's like, you know what? Let Snedeker get his top 10, even a win, but then he's there and you can kind of get value from him. One of the guys...
And Steve, just to touch on Snedge quickly, it kind of brings me back to what I was saying about Sergio earlier. And I'm a lot more in terms of projecting performance. If guys are kind of like their performance attribution is attributed to ways that they generally get the job done, and then you kind of just look for opportunities where they might be off of their normal averages in some aspects, so they might be able to pop for Snedeker. Looking at his round-by-round strokes gained putting data, 3 of his last 4 rounds have all been negative strokes gained on the green, and his only positive round was 0.071. So, I mean, if he's not getting the job done on the greens, then you can't really expect him you can't really expect the performance to really be there as well, too.
That's his forte, one guy in the chat just asked about Keegan, who I thought was interesting because of the course history being so strong, but then I saw the price and I'm like, 7,900, for Keegan maybe a year or 2 ago was okay, reasonable, but yeah, listen, he's got a first here, he's got a second here, he's never finished outside the top 30 at this course, so you see that and it's like, wow, but it's kind of the reverse conversation of what I said earlier about if you have a guy that, is a different player in the past and he's having his best year ever, then you can throw out the course history. This is kind of one of the situations where, like, I need Keegan to show me more before I spend 7,900 on a guy that's just been really not good. I mean, Listen, I think the ownership for Keegan is going to be too high just because of how good the course history is, and people are going to think it's going to be maybe a GPP play because he hasn't been playing well, that it's going to make me feel like I didn't get the value. I mean, if he was in the sixes, sure, but 7,900, he's just, that's a problem for me.
Yeah, absolutely, especially when Piercy's there and been throwing up, 20 T20s and stuff, and looks like he's trending well, and Cole Most even is under him, has been playing about the same as Keegan and is more consistent. And yeah, I mean, you're expecting Keegan to sort of break the form of what he's shown you all year. So I agree. That's part of looking at course history and context, right? It's just, what he did at this course was when he was a different player and when he had the belly putter.
when the rules of the game were different, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I agree. I mean, that range is interesting. Like, I wonder how highly owned Dillette and Bradley will be, because I really like the guys at 8K just a lot more than them. So, if people are going to go down and Nost and stuff like that, I'd rather just try and pay up and take a value play from elsewhere, because I don't mind Graham. Like,
yeah, I don't mind Dillette at all this week.
Yeah.
I think it's a sneaky GPP this week, to be honest with you. And yeah, I mean, he's 4-4 with 2 top 10 in his last 4. I think is this his first time at the event?
No, he's got strong course history. He's
Does he?
4 or 5 at this event.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Go ahead. Sorry, I was reading my notes. First-time winners have proven to do well here, so he has obviously as a winner. That's what
I mean, he missed on the number in 2010, and then he rattled off a 41st, 10th, 7th, 22nd. I mean, listen, with this field and how well he actually has been playing in his history here, I mean, I'd like to know what his odds are, because this could be a first win for Dillette. I could see that, this being the type of scenario where no one's really on him too much, but he's playing pretty well on a course he likes. I mean, I'm not going to tell you to take him to win, but it wouldn't surprise me if this is the kind of spot where he gets that first win,
Oh, for sure, yeah. No, this would be the type of tournament where he gets it. I mean, he's so up and down. Like, he used to be the most consistent player in the world, but I guess I shouldn't be too hard on him. He's missed one cut. I mean, he was the player, so I mean.
It's your defense, Jeff. To start to cut you, but I'm with there's other guys right at that range that I like better than I do Dillette. I just think it's a great buying opportunity, possibly for ownership percentage purposes, to get a guy that could pop here and win.
Yeah, and I mean, Dillette was in contention in 2004 too. I mean, like, he was right in it. So course-wise, I do think it sets up really well for him. This is the type of spot where he'll get it if he ever does get it. So yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Yeah, I definitely take him over Keegan Bradley. That's for sure.
Here's a guy that I usually love jumping on board when value in terms of price and value in terms of ownership kind of meet, just based on, like, again, a decent ceiling. And I know he hasn't really done much to really jump off the page in the past 12 weeks. But what are your thoughts on Harris English at 7,500?
Yeah, I was at the start of the week. I was really kind of interested in him. And I'm still am, but I just don't think I'm going to invest. The guy's he's got so much talent that, like, he could literally, he's like every week is like a Harris English course that I'm like, oh,
I know.
Yeah, I saw the guys over at Fantasy Labs talking about him in terms of, that they use that adjusted right. Scoring, and they seem to like him relative to the field this week, just in that metric alone. But he's been okay at 7,500. I don't think the value is there. I mean, we have that as a negative 6.65 points gained against the price. I mean, he's averaging a little over 6 points less than someone at that price, so he hasn't really paid off that number. I mean, if he was like 7,100, you're probably going to be around what he should be priced. So
yeah,
I don't mind it, but I have a feeling, based on what I'm seeing, that he's going to be maybe slightly more owned than you'd like him to be. But there's no doubt he could definitely play well enough to give you the return.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like, from a GPP perspective, I do get it, and like I said, I was really looking at him earlier in the week. I just don't really like the way he's played this year very much. But people are going to take Bryce Mulder. People are going to take Lucas Glover. I mean, Harris English is like I said, he's probably way more talented than both those guys. I mean, he's won twice, and he's won weaker field events like this before too. So, like I said, he really does have the game that he can compete almost anywhere. He's got length off the tee. He's not a bad putter when he's on. He doesn't three putt a lot. So, I mean, tee to green, he's good. It's just I don't know what he's been doing this year. Like I thought he was going to pop at the start of the year, and I was kind of on him, but then he just tailed off after that good performance in Phoenix. And
yeah, I was on him too in Phoenix big time.
Yeah. I mean, I was on him that week too, actually, but I think I fucked up the rest of my picks. But yeah, since then it's just been like, what are you doing? So I don't know. I mean, GPP, I get it. I could see him going off this week. Like I said, I mean, overall, Lucas Glover, Bryce Mulder, Harris English. I'll take Harris English's game over him, but the stats and the consistency lie with Mulder and Glover this week.
Yeah, I totally agree. And what you just said before about like of those three, you take his game over. I guess, and like you said, just this is simply for GPP purposes, but that's the only thing that really intrigues me here. And I just think that at a price that level, and I think ownership probably definitely in the single digits, less than 5 in my opinion. I think it wouldn't hurt to sprinkle him into a couple teams because you could get a guy at 7,500 that could win this event, and it has the game to win the event. I mean, I know you can say that about other players, but I think the odds of him winning this event, just like in terms of pure ability, are higher than most guys at that level. So I'm gonna take a few lineups and probably sprinkle him in there, and hopefully he pops. We'll see.
Yeah, this is perfect spot to use him for a GPP because he's won 2 weaker field events. He won the FedEx St. Jude, which is kind of another longish par 70 course.
Mm-hmm.
It's the type of field, it's the type of event he could do it. I mean, I don't see him winning, but I could definitely see like a rebound with like a top 20 or top 10 here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Any thoughts on Sung-Yul No?
Oh man.
I mean, at 7,000, I mean, he's got a decent course history. His event by event, I mean, he finished 20th at Zurich, missed the cut at Valero, 51st at RBC. I mean, he hasn't been playing too great, but I'm just kind of thinking about his GPP. He kind of hasn't been too poor. I'm just trying to think of that range, and then that like at 7,000 range is kind of interesting. I mean, obviously you got someone like Rogers there, Wilcox, the people that people are recognizing. I think Sung-Yul No, you're probably going to get a tremendous steal ownership-wise. I don't know if I agree that he's going to play well, but
soon you'll know.
Yeah, soon you'll know.
Yeah, I would probably be more likely to get on him than like Wilcox this week, just because Wilcox after that hole-in-one, and I don't even know. I don't know what he's going to do this week. So the stats for him aren't there this year like they were last year. So he's not like an every week play for me. I'll be on Sean O'Hare again over Sung-Yul No. I just like the par 4 scoring. He's hitting it really big off the tee. Just imploded when the greens got tough last week. But I'm not going to hold that against him because everything else of his game seems there. So again, he's like top 10 in par 4 scoring for the year too. So. I'll probably go O'Hare over Sung-Yul No, but yeah, for a GPP pick, I don't mind it. I mean, he's tee to green, he's usually pretty solid. So again, the type of course where maybe it helps out his putter.
Oh, let's see. Anyone I feel like we missed there.
I don't mind Zach Blair at 6,900. I mean, he's pretty consistent too. So. Someone else you could kind of think about for GPPs. I mean, he's made 5 or 6 cuts. Disqualified himself at the Wells Fargo, but he was 16th here last year. So he doesn't hit it a ton, but he's actually okay with his approach shots, and he's usually good around the greens. So more of maybe even I might even throw him in the cash game pile this week. I think he's a really consistent player. So just overall.
No, just to piggyback off that, like even though I guess like the stats show that that like bombers have fared better on this course, the course isn't really that long of a course. So if you have a guy like Mulder or Blair who putt the shit out of the ball, and their tee to green game is pretty solid right now. There's no reason why, especially on these big greens, why they can't do well and kind of rise above those average subpar putters that would be more exploited in the longer course. Whereas, like, because what is it, only 7,100 yards this week, I believe. So it's really not that long of a course, even though Bombers have fared better here.
Yeah, that's the perfect way to put it. I mean,
it's 71.66.
Yeah. So, guys who are putting it well, but have been in form with tee to green lately. That's good. I mean,
don't forget it's a par 70, so keep that in mind in terms of the
it's not like super short or anything.
Yeah.
The par fours are really long here too. Like they're all over 400 yards. So that's where like sort of the most of the toughness lies. Because the two par fives are short, and even the par threes aren't that long. So most of them are under 200.
Where do you guys think DeChambeau finishes this week?
I mean, people are expecting a bounce back from him from kind of what I've heard. I don't know. I mean, I guess this is a course that is favored first-timers. I don't think he's going to come out and win or anything, but, to me, he still struggled with the putter a little bit, and, I mean, struggling at the Wells Fargo to the green doesn't give me, like, a ton of confidence, so I'm sure he'll get it together, but I don't know. I'm probably going to just stay off him, but at some point he'll probably pop again. I don't know. It's so tough with these young players. I mean, I was on Patrick Rogers huge at the start of the season, like every week, and it's just he just hasn't figured it out yet. I mean, he'll once he does it, I mean, he'll probably be top 20 in every week. But I kind of see the same with DeChambeau. He hasn't figured it out quite yet with all facets of his game.
Yeah, I don't think I want to spend 8,300 on him yet. I mean, I want to see him do really well. I'm just not ready to play him.
And also, for DJ, based on his popularity, I could see like guys in the industry and DFS jumping on board, thinking that this might possibly, like being contrarian for the sake this might be the time to get him when people aren't really on him. So the fact that like I think a lot of people might be trying to be contrarian by playing him at this elevated price, thinking they might get him when other people are off them. And that might just naturally, like the sake for being contrarian, actually turns into what the public, with general public sentiments, might drive up his ownership than what I want for him at 8,300.
He'll still be 10% owned for sure.
Mm-hmm.
He'll still be double digits. I have no doubt about that. People just still get on him, like you said. That is a popular range, but I still think he'll be well enough owned that I'll just stay off him. I don't know. I think we covered most of the guys I want to talk about. Who do you guys like for winning this then? Is there anyone you like? Do you think Dustin's going to blow it out, or do you think
I'm taking DJ in one and done this week, so
yeah. Definitely makes sense. I mean, as much as I am going to fade him like completely in my GPPs, but I mean, it's not like I'd be lying if I said I wasn't nervous about it, because I mean he's probably got a great shot at the top 10 here, so. I just feel like he's going to be like 35% on DraftKings because he just makes too much sense. But it might be one of those weeks where maybe you just grin and bear it and get exposure. But that makes a ton of sense. I do like Louis for this scores. I just can't get over. I really think he should be like the third highest price player. So I think tee to green he gives you just as much as Dustin. So that's kind of the way I'm leaning. But what about you, Bobby?
Yeah, I mean you said it perfect. I'm the biggest like. I'm one of the I care so much about ownership percentage when it comes to GPP purposes that for the most part, even if I think a guy has a high probability of cracking a top 5 or winning it, I'll try to fade them just to increase my odds in case it doesn't work out and he doesn't play as well as he does. But DJ's one of those guys this week where he hasn't won yet this year. He's kind of been biting at the bits. All of the statistics are there. I could see him blowing the field away too, but again, that doesn't mean I'll have a lot of exposure to him just because I'd like to. In case he doesn't, then and I'm one of the guys who fade him. I might be in a much better position of actually taking down a big GPP tournament if it works out that way, rather than kind of moving with the crowd and hoping that the rest of my 5 picks kind of differentiate myself there. So. I could see DJ winning this week. I also, I haven't, to be honest, I haven't really been able to dive that deep into everything yet at this point. I just got back from being away last night, But I have a feeling that's going to be a lesser. I wouldn't be surprised if a lesser known or unexpected guy kind of popped up this week and won, and not lesser known in terms of like a guy that no one would expect, but I could see a guy like Danny Lee sneaking up the leaderboard this week if things work and figuring out a way to get a job done. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting.
I mean, that's kind of what we've seen in these weaker field events. Eh? It's been a few. It's either been like mid-tier guys or just complete out of nowhere like James Hahn or so. Yeah,
another guy like you said, like Dillette falls into that. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw.
Yeah,
it could be a Woodland week. Could be a Woodland week.
Yeah. People forget like Woodland's won twice. I mean, it's.
I mean, Leishman. He's not like a lower end guy, but I mean, he's tremendous success here. Obviously, we always like him, but this is the kind of event where he's lesser known. That's why we talk about him so much on our end. But a guy like that easily could come through. It would surprise anyone that doesn't watch golf. I don't think it would surprise any of us in this conversation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, definitely. Lots of guys like that in this field who set up well this week. They could just swoop in and have a decent week, and because you're probably not going to get. I mean, it's like you said, unless Dustin really blows the doors off here, you're probably not going to get like something like we saw last week. So, like with Day just sort of running away. So, I don't think this is the course where Steve can run away. He might contend, he might even win, but if he does, it'll be like a Sunday run or something. So, but,
I heard you mention him earlier, but another guy that intrigues me too is Blix at that at that price range. I think all 8 rounds here have been like 70 or lower. We finished T3 in 2012, so obviously knows the track okay. I like his form coming into the event. I think what he opened with, I believe it was like 67, 67 last week until Saturday strolled along. So.
Mm-hmm. I like Blix, man. Like another guy who just great GPP pick, almost like a lot of weeks, especially on a course like this. Like it's not super long. It's obviously you need length, but he's got the short game and he's got the putter that can just get so hot. So when his TD Green game is on, and it was last week, I mean that's when he can really put it up. So yeah, I mean, and he was T30 here. Like he wasn't playing well when he came here last year either. So I mean, to put up a T30 was big. So no, I like Blix for sure this week. That's a guy I really like because he's going to be, even though he played well last week, he's still going to be like 3% owned. So
yeah, exactly.
I definitely like that play. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, any last thoughts before we get out of here? Any last? I'm
happy the Players is over and we're moving on.
Yeah, we got beat up a little more than we probably should have, even though the guys we liked did well. We just didn't put together any really solid lineups last week. That was the only problem.
Yeah, I had I did have one nice Jason Day lineup. It really tanked. Like it was 6 of 6, but it really tanked on the weekend. Like it had Leishman and O'Hara on it, and Fabian Gomez, and they all shot like plus 15 together on like Sunday. So it sucked because it was in good position. But yeah, other than that lineup, my week was kind of blah too because I didn't have much Jason Day, so I'm looking forward to this week. Should be a good one. I don't mind these weaker field events, to be honest.
Me either. I like them.
I think it's more strategy and it's a little bit funner to create lineups. Last week was kind of like just a little too easy.
So I guess what's one way to do it is then I'm curious on where we think Spieth is going to finish up this week.
I think he's going to top 10. I think he'll be like 10th, T9, maybe T7. That's my
I agree. I definitely agree.
Jeez, man, you guys are pushing me more on him now.
I
have no idea. That's why I want to listen to the experts here. So I appreciate that.
I don't have him anywhere ownership-wise, but yeah, I mean GPP, you might want to get on him. I could just listen. It could just be one of those narratives where you see, oh, yeah, he didn't play so well last week for whatever reason. Which, listen, I was big against him last week just because of the way the course sets up. But it's a weak field. Like a guy like him in a weak field. I mean, it's him and DJ. I mean, that's why he and DJ are the only 2 guys in our first class. I mean, we have weeks where the first class is like 6, 7 people deep. This week it's those 2.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally agree.
Interesting. All right. Well, I don't know if we've got any more questions on there. Our friend Nut just joined. By the way, Nutton, I like your handle, Bookie Breaker. The alliteration, it
with
fits you
the
perfectly,
last,
too.
he only goes in two-word spurts there with the sound. I'm assuming that's the same nut that it always is. But I think that's all I got for right now.
All right. Yeah. No, me too. Have a good week, people listening and stuff, and yeah, we'll talk to you guys next week.
No, of course.
It was always a pleasure, Jeff. Good luck, man.
Jeff, Fantasy Grind. We're at Fantasy Golf Metrics. Hit us up on Twitter, and we'll see you throughout the rest of the week. Take it easy, guys.
Peace.